Welcome to Peaceful Nightfall. Tonight's story is here to help you slow down, relax your mind, and gently let go of the day. Get comfortable, take a deep breath, and allow yourself to rest. Tonight's story is Wooden Floor Groans Slowly. The creaky wooden floorboards groaned softly beneath the weight of a single slow-moving shadow. The darkness outside seemed to seep into the cabin, like a cold mist settling into every nook and cranny. In the dim light, the rustic furniture appeared worn but sturdy, its weathered wooden surfaces bearing tiny scratches and scuffs from countless winters. A small fire crackled in the hearth, casting flickering shadows on the walls as the flames danced and subsided. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, carried in on thick, still morning air. As stood there, my breathing slowed to match the gentle pace of the wind outside, and my footsteps quieted into mere whispers against the wooden floor. The cabin's windows, once sealed with snowdrifts during the long winter, now let in slivers of pale light as the morning sun struggled to peek through the dense trees outside. The fire's warmth had settled into a gentle simmer, and found myself drawn to the rhythmic creaking of the wooden rocking chair that stood beside the hearth, its worn cushions slightly askew from years of gentle motion. My gaze drifted out. The window, where the snow-covered peaks rose up like giants, their rugged silhouettes softened only by the soft morning haze. The rocking chair's gentle sway seemed to draw me closer, its worn wooden frame creaking in a slow, soothing cadence that harmonized with my own breaths. As stood there, mesmerized by the rhythmic motion, my eyes began to rove across the cabin's interior, taking in the weathered wooden beams that stretched up towards the ceiling like giant's ribs, and the dusty array of old books and lanterns that lined the shelves, their glassy surfaces reflecting the fire's warm glow. The air was heavy with the scent of old leather and wood smoke. As moved closer to the chair, my footsteps quiet on the creaking floorboards, and my gaze settling on the small, intricately carved wooden box that rested in the chair's lap, its lid slightly ajar, releasing a faint whisper of sandalwood into the air. The gentle rocking motion seemed to pull me closer, as if drawn by an unseen thread. My fingers brushed against the wooden box and hesitated, my breath slowing further, in anticipation. The cabin's silence deepened, punctuated only by the creaking chair and the distant hum of a lone bird awakening outside. As reached for the box, the fire crackled softly, sending a warm ember drifting up into the chimney, where it vanished into the morning haze. My fingers wrapped around the wooden box, their tips tracing the intricate carvings that danced across its surface like whispers of ancient secrets. The rocking chair's gentle sway had slowed to a near halt, as if it too sensed my hesitation, and the fire crackled softly, sending wisps of smoke curling lazily into the air. Outside, the snow-covered peaks stood sentinel, their rugged silhouettes bathed in the soft, golden light that crept over the forest floor like a hesitant lover. As lifted the box's lid, a faint scent of sandalwood and vanilla wafted out, mingling with the earthy aroma of damp leaves and decaying wood. The wooden box itself seemed to release its hold on my fingers, opening like a small wooden door onto a world of forgotten memories and half-forgotten dreams. The lid's hinges creaked softly as it swung open, revealing a soft white expanse of silk that seemed to glow in the firelight like a miniature moon. The scent of sandalwood and vanilla grew stronger, enveloping me in its warm, comforting aroma as tilted my head to one side, my eyes drawn to the intricate patterns that danced across the fabric's surface like wisps of cirrus cloud drifting across a summer sky. Outside, the snow-covered peaks stood steadfast, their rugged silhouettes etched against the pale blue horizon like a promise of secrets yet to be uncovered. My fingers lingered on the box's rim, hesitant to release its hold as gazed deeper into the silk's folds, my breath slowing further in anticipation of the stories it might hold. As leaned forward, the soft glow of the firelight danced across the fabric, casting a warm golden light on the intricate patterns that seemed to shift and writhe like living things. The scent of sandalwood and vanilla grew stronger still, enveloping me in its comforting aroma as my fingers relaxed their grip on the box's rim. Outside, the snow-covered peaks stood sentinel, their rugged silhouettes bathed in the pale blue light of dawn that crept slowly over the forest floor like a hesitant lover. The air was heavy with the scent of damp leaves and decaying wood, mingling with the sweet aroma of vanilla as tilted my head to one side, my eyes drawn deeper into the silk's folds. The intricate patterns on the silk seemed to deepen in complexity as gazed deeper. The soft glow of the firelight, casting a warm, golden light on the subtle shifts and swirls that danced across the fabric like the tendrils of a morning glory vine. The scent of sandalwood and vanilla enveloped me, growing stronger still as my breath slowed further, matching the gentle pace of the fire's crackling embers outside. My fingers released their hold on the box's rim, leaving it to rest beside me on the worn wooden table, its lid slowly creaking shut like a small door closing on a forgotten world. The soft expanse of silk seemed to glow brighter still, as if responding to my gentle movement, drawing my gaze deeper into its folds, where ancient secrets whispered softly in the silence, their presence felt but not yet fully grasped. As settled back into the worn wooden chair, the soft glow of the firelight casting a warm, golden light on the intricate patterns that still danced across the silk's surface, my gaze began to wander towards the small window that framed the snow-covered peaks outside. The pale blue light of dawn crept slowly over the forest floor, casting long shadows across the landscape, like a gentle mist seeping into the valleys below. Shifted slightly in my seat, the worn wood creaking softly beneath me, as let my eyes follow the contours of the mountainside, tracing the winding paths that disappeared into the trees. The air was heavy with the scent of damp leaves and decaying wood, mingling with the sweet aroma of vanilla as breathed slowly, my chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm matched the gentle pace of the fire's crackling embers outside. As the pale blue light crept higher, the snow-covered peaks began to take on a gentle pink hue, like the tender petals of an alpine flower unfolding in the morning warmth. The scent of vanilla grew stronger still, mingling with the earthy aroma of damp soil as my gaze drifted towards the small window's frame, where a delicate spider web stretched across the glass like a gossamer thread, shimmering in the soft light. As sat there, lost in the gentle dance of shadows on the silk, the morning air began to carry the sweet scent of wood smoke and damp earth into the cabin. The silence was so profound that even the fire's crackling seemed to pause, as if waiting for the world outside to awaken from its slumber. My breathing slowed further still, matching the rhythm of the morning light creeping over the mountainside. Shifted slightly in my seat once more, the worn wood creaking softly beneath me as let my gaze follow the contours of the window frame, tracing the delicate lines of frost that etched themselves across the glass like a wispy pen and ink drawing. The snow-covered peaks outside seemed to glow with an otherworldly light, their pale blue hue deepening into a soft lavender as the sun continued its slow ascent, casting a warm, golden glow over the landscape. As sat there, lost in the gentle dance of shadows on the silk, my gaze drifted towards the corner of the room where a small wooden stool stood, adorned with a few scattered threads from last night's knitting project. The threads seemed to shimmer in the growing light, like tiny sparks waiting to ignite into a flame. My breathing slowed further still, matching the rhythm of the morning light creeping over the mountainside. As shifted my gaze from the threads to the corner of the room, the gentle slope of the wooden wall caught my attention, its weathered boards bearing the faint scars of countless snowfalls and spring thaws. The soft, golden light cast by the rising sun danced across the surface, illuminating tiny ridges and grooves that resembled the delicate lines on a palm tree's trunk. With a slow, deliberate movement, raised my hand to gently touch the wall's rough texture, feeling the subtle give of the wood beneath my fingertips as it yielded to the pressure. The threads on the stool seemed to stir in the growing light, like tiny insects awakening from their slumber, and the scent of vanilla and damp earth mingled with a hint of old leather carried on the morning air that wafted through the cabin's open window. As my fingertips made contact with the wall, the rough texture seemed to vibrate with a gentle energy, as if the wood itself were alive and stirring from its morning slumber. The golden light danced across the surface, casting a subtle glow on the ridges and grooves, which appeared to shift and reorganize themselves like the delicate patterns of sand on a beach at low tide. With a slow, deliberate movement, transferred my attention to the stool, letting my gaze follow the threads as they seemed to unravel themselves from their neat coils, spilling across the wooden surface in a gentle cascade of golden light. The vanilla scent wafting through the air deepened, mingling with the damp earth and old leather aromas, creating a rich tapestry of smells that wrapped itself around me like a warm blanket. As sat there, lost in the intricate dance of shadows on the silk, my breathing slowed further still, matching the rhythm of the morning light creeping over the mountainside, where the snow-covered peaks seemed to glow with an otherworldly light, their pale blue hue deepening into a soft lavender as the sun continued its slow ascent. The threads on the stool appeared to weave themselves back together, slowly coiling around each other like tender shoots of greenery sprouting from the earth. As sat there, my attention shifted to the cabin's small fire pit, where a few embers still smoldered from the previous night's warmth. The air was heavy with the scent of damp wood and charred remains, the faintest hint of smoke lingering like a whisper on the morning breeze. With a slow, deliberate movement, raised my hand to gently stir the ashes, feeling the rough texture of the wooden spoon against my fingertips as it scraped against the ceramic sides of the pit. The embers responded by releasing a gentle plume of dust and ash, which swirled upward like a tiny vortex, carrying with it the promise of a new day unfolding before me. As breathed in the scent of charred wood and damp earth, the vanilla aroma from earlier began to mingle with the subtle tang of wood smoke, creating a rich tapestry of smells that enveloped me like a warm blanket on a warm blanket on this still morning. The warmth of the embers seemed to seep into my skin as stirred the ashes, releasing the faintest hint of steam into the crisp mountain air. The sun continued its slow ascent, casting a gentle glow over the cabin's rustic exterior, where the wooden boards creaked softly in the morning breeze. As the light crept higher, it illuminated the small garden beside the cabin, where the first tender shoots of spring vegetables poked their green heads through the thawing soil. The scent of damp earth and new growth wafted up, mingling with the vanilla and wood smoke aromas to create a heady bouquet that filled my senses. With a slow, deliberate movement, rose from the stool, my joints creaking softly as stretched towards the ceiling, feeling the stiffness of the morning dissipate with each gentle stretch. The wooden spoon slipped from my fingers, falling onto the ceramic pit, where it joined the embers in a quiet symphony of sounds and smells that filled this peaceful mountain morning. As stood there, the warm light from outside cast long shadows across the cabin's wooden floorboards, stretching out like dark tentacles to grasp at the edges of my awareness. The air was filled with the sweet scent of sap rising from the trees, a subtle aroma that mingled with the damp earth and charred wood to create a rich tapestry of smells that enveloped me like a warm blanket. Slowly made my way towards the small wooden table beside the window, where a steaming mug of coffee sat waiting, its creamy surface glistening in the morning light. As reached for it, my fingers brushed against the rough texture of the wood grain, and felt a sense of calm wash over me like a gentle wave on a summer day. The sun continued to rise, casting a golden glow across the cabin's rustic interior, where the wooden beams seemed to hum with a quiet energy as they absorbed the warmth. Outside, the trees began to stir, their branches swaying softly in the morning breeze, like a chorus of gentle voices singing in harmony. The warmth from the mug seeped into my palms as lifted it to my lips, releasing a hint of sweet aroma that mingled with the earthy scents of the cabin and garden. The sunlight danced across the wooden table, casting intricate patterns on the surface as breathed in deeply, feeling the tension in my body begin to unravel like the threads of a worn blanket. Outside, the trees stood taller, their leaves rustling softly against each other as they continued their morning dance, while inside, the cabin's wooden beams seemed to vibrate with a quiet energy, as if they too were awakening from a peaceful slumber. As wrapped my hands around the white, warm mug, the ceramic felt smooth against my skin, like a gentle caress on a summer's day. The morning light danced across the table, casting long shadows that stretched out like wispy fingers, beckoning me to follow them outside into the stillness of the forest. Slowly made my way towards the window, the wooden floorboards creaking softly beneath my feet, as if awakening from a peaceful slumber. The sunlight streaming in highlighted the tiny dust particles suspended in the air, like 1,000 tiny stars twinkling in the morning sky. Outside, the trees' leaves rustled softly against each other, their gentle whispers blending with the distant hum of a hidden stream, creating a symphony of sounds that enveloped me in its peaceful melody. As moved closer to the window, the morning light highlighted the intricate patterns on the wooden floorboards, like the delicate veins on a leaf. The air was filled with the sweet scent of damp earth and the distant hint of wildflowers, carried on the gentle breeze that rustled the trees' leaves outside. My gaze drifted out into the quiet forest, where the sunlight filtered through the canopy above, casting dappled shadows across the forest floor like a patchwork quilt. The silence was so profound, it seemed to reverberate through my very being, as if the stillness itself were a living entity that wrapped its quiet arms around me. As stood there, the morning light danced across my face, casting a gentle glow on the lines and creases etched into my skin. The warmth of the sun seeped into my skin, gradually awakening the fatigue that had settled in during the night. My eyelids grew heavy once more, and let them drift downward, feeling the softness of my gaze merge with the serenity of the surroundings. Slowly, my breathing slowed to match the gentle cadence of the forest, as if our rhythms were entwining like the tendrils of a climbing vine. The wooden floorboards creaked softly beneath my feet and shifted ever so slightly, releasing a faint whisper of wood smoke into the air, mingling with the scent of damp earth and wildflowers. As stood there, suspended in this peaceful equilibrium, the warmth of the sun seeped deeper into my skin, awakening the subtlest sensations within me. The floorboards creaked softly once more, as shifted slightly, releasing a faint whisper of wood smoke that mingled with the scent of damp earth and wildflowers. Outside, the trees' leaves rustled softly against each other, their gentle whispers blending with the distant hum of the hidden stream, creating a symphony of sounds that enveloped me in its peaceful melody. The intricate patterns on the wooden floorboards seemed to shift and change, as gazed down at them, like the delicate veins on a leaf unfolding themselves before my eyes. My breathing slowed further, matching the gentle cadence of the forest, as if our rhythms were entwining like the tendrils of a climbing vine. The softness of the wooden floorboards beneath my feet seemed to vibrate in harmony with the rustling leaves outside. I slowly turned away from the window and made my way back into the cabin. The air inside was crisp and cool, carrying the faint scent of old books and wood smoke that lingered on the pages of awe. The worn volumes stacked haphazardly around me. As walked further in, the gentle creaking of the wooden beams above seemed to take on a soothing quality, like a gentle rocking motion that lulled my senses into a state of quiet contemplation. The soft morning light streaming through the cabin door cast an ethereal glow on the worn stone hearth, where a small fire crackled softly, its flames dancing in tandem with the quiet rhythms of the forest outside. As drew closer to the fireplace, the warmth of the flames seemed to seep into my bones, releasing any remaining felt tension within me. The soft crackling of the fire's edges grew more pronounced as a small log shifted slightly, sending a tiny shower of sparks up towards the chimney. Beyond the fire's gentle glow, the stone hearth's rough texture seemed to come alive, its ancient lines etched with the stories of countless winter nights spent in quiet contemplation. My gaze wandered upwards, tracing the path of the wooden beams above as they disappeared into the darkness of the cabin's loft, where a faint hint of dusty silence hung like a whispered promise. The warmth from the fire seemed to seep deeper into my bones, releasing any remaining tension within me. As stood there, lost in the gentle rhythms of the forest outside and the soft crackling of the flames, my eyes drifted upwards, tracing the path of the wooden beams above as they disappeared into the darkness of the cabin's loft. The rough texture of the stone hearth beneath my feet seemed to come alive, its ancient lines etched with the stories of countless winter nights spent in quiet contemplation. Slowly raised a hand, and my fingers brushed against the worn stone wall beside me, leaving behind a faint impression of their path. As my fingertips lingered on the cool stone, the gentle warmth from the fire seemed to seep into my skin, releasing a subtle scent of wood smoke and damp earth that mingled with the crisp morning air. The soft crackling of the flames grew more muted as the fire's embers settled into a slow burn, casting a warm glow on the surrounding walls, where the worn wooden beams appeared to stretch out like a canopy above me. My gaze followed their gentle curve upwards, tracing the path of a few wispy cobwebs that clung tenaciously to the rough-hewn planks, their delicate strands shimmering in the flickering light. The soft glow from the fire cast a warm silhouette on the wooden beams above, and noticed the gentle curve of a single beam seemed to follow the path of my gaze, its rough-hewn surface weathered to a smooth patina by countless winters. As stood there, mesmerized by the subtle play of light and shadow, the creaking of the cabin's wooden floorboards began to manifest as a series of tiny vibrations that resonated through my soles, like the quiet hum of a distant bee. The vibrations seemed to synchronize with the slow ticking of my heartbeat, and felt myself becoming attuned to the rhythm of the forest outside, where a few birds were starting to stir in their nests, their soft chirping gradually building into a gentle chorus that mingled with the crackling of the fire. Meanwhile, the scent of wood smoke and damp earth continued to linger on my skin, mingling with the crisp morning air as slowly began to straighten my stance, my eyes drifting towards the doorway, where a faint streak of light was beginning to seep in, heralding the dawn's gradual approach. As stood there, my gaze drifting from the fire's warm glow to the streak of morning light, noticed that the cabin's wooden floorboards creaked with a gentle persistence, their vibrations mingling with the distant chirping of birds and the soft crackling of the embers. The air seemed to vibrate with an almost imperceptible hum, as if the very fabric of the forest was stirring from its slumber. My breathing slowed in tandem with the morning's gradual awakening, and my footsteps, hesitant at first, began to move with a quiet deliberateness, drawing me towards the doorway where the light was growing stronger. The rough-hewn planks beneath my feet seemed to stretch out like a path, inviting me to follow their gentle curve towards the cabin's threshold, where the morning's promise of new beginnings waited patiently outside. The air grew cooler. As stepped through the doorway, the morning light casting a warm glow on the patchwork of leaves that carpeted the forest floor. The scent of damp earth and decaying leaves filled my nostrils as walked along the winding path, the silence broken only by the occasional snapping of twigs beneath my feet. Ahead, the treetops seemed to stir, their branches unfolding like nature's own chandeliers as the sun rose higher in the sky. The forest floor crunched softly beneath my footsteps as made my way along the winding path, the leaves rustling in a gentle symphony that accompanied me through the stillness. The air was filled with the sweet scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, and breathed it in deeply, feeling the calmness spread through my chest like ripples on a pond. As walked, The trees grew taller, their branches intertwining above me like a natural canopy, filtering the morning light into dappled patterns that danced across the forest floor. The silence was almost palpable, broken only by the occasional snapping of twigs and the soft hooting of two distant owls, their calls carrying through the stillness like whispers from another world. Ahead, the trees parted to reveal a clearing, its center dominated by a massive ancient oak, its gnarled branches twisted into impossible shapes that seemed to defy gravity itself. As entered the clearing, the air grew thick with the scent of damp moss and ancient wood, drawing me closer to the majestic oak at its center. The trees surrounding it stood like sentinels, their leaves rustling softly in the morning breeze as it whispered secrets through the branches. The massive trunk of the oak rose before me like a pillar of wisdom, its bark twisted into deep furrows that seemed to hold the stories of countless seasons within their ancient folds. Breathed deeply, feeling the calmness spread through my chest as reached out a hand touched the rough-hewn surface, and the soft earth beneath my feet began to shift ever so slightly, releasing tiny tremors that echoed up through my legs like a gentle vibration. The ancient oak's massive branches seemed to stretch out in all directions, their gnarled limbs creaking softly as they flexed in the morning breeze. As stood before it, the rustling leaves and snapping twigs beneath my feet grew quiet, as if the forest itself was listening to the secrets whispered by the tree's twisted bark. The air was heavy with the scent of damp moss and decaying wood, drawing me closer to the trunk's massive girth. My hand, still resting on the rough-hewn surface, began to release its gentle pressure, allowing my fingers to drift down the curves of the trunk like a slow-moving stream. The gentle slope of the ancient oak's trunk guided my fingers as they continued their slow descent, tracing the intricate patterns of age and weathering that told stories of seasons past. As moved down the trunk, the rough texture gave way to smoother wood, like the softening of a river stone worn smooth by patient erosion. The scent of damp earth and moss grew stronger, drawing me further into the ancient tree's secrets. My eyes followed the curves of the trunk, tracing the path my fingers had taken, and settled upon the massive roots that sprawled outward like giant tentacles, as if anchoring the tree to the very heart of the forest. The roots of the ancient oak stretched out across the clearing, their gnarled limbs twisting and turning in a slow dance. As stood there, mesmerized by their slow movement, noticed that one root had grown into a small pool of water, its surface reflecting the early morning light like a tiny mirror. The water's edge was rimmed with moss, and a few strands of it floated lazily on the surface, releasing tiny ripples that spread outward like concentric circles. My eyes followed the ripples as they disappeared beneath the root, and my fingers continued their slow descent down the trunk, tracing the path of the roots as they burrowed into the earth. The scent of damp moss and decaying wood grew stronger, drawing me deeper into the secrets of the ancient tree. The root's gentle curve led my fingers to a small clearing, surrounded by the massive roots' twisted limbs. And in this quiet sanctuary, a faint mist hung suspended in the air like a whispered promise. The mist clung to the rough bark of nearby roots, creating tiny droplets that sparkled with a soft, ethereal light. My hand, still tracing the ancient tree's curves, paused as absorbed the serene atmosphere of this hidden glade. Slowly, my gaze lifted to follow the misty tendrils as they curled around the clearing's perimeter, their delicate fingers weaving an intricate pattern on the forest floor. The mist's gentle tendrils continued their slow dance across the forest floor, leaving behind a trail of tiny droplets that refracted the early morning light into 1,000 miniature rainbows. As stood there, my hand still tracing the ancient tree's curves, the scent of damp earth and decaying wood mingled with the sweet aroma of wildflowers wafting in from the surrounding woods, filling the air with an intoxicating blend of fragrance and peace. My eyes followed the mist's path as it curled around a nearby boulder, its rough surface covered in moss and ferns that seemed to thrive in the damp, shaded environment. The boulder's weathered face was etched with ancient lines, telling stories of seasons past and present, while the mist clung to its contours like a lover's caress. My gaze drifted upward, tracing the slow curve of the forest floor as it gave way to the gentle slope of a hillside, where wildflowers bloomed in every color of the rainbow, their delicate petals swaying softly in the morning breeze. The mist's tendrils continued their slow dance across the forest floor, weaving an intricate pattern that seemed to shift and change as watched. My hand, still tracing the ancient tree's curves, moved slowly upward, following the line of the trunk as it merged with the dappled shadows cast by the surrounding trees. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and decaying wood, but also carried the sweet fragrance of wildflowers wafting in from the hillside beyond. As stood there, my breathing slow and even, the mist's gentle tendrils curled around a nearby sapling, its delicate branches swaying softly in the morning breeze. The sun was rising higher now, casting a warm glow over the forest floor, illuminating the intricate patterns etched into the moss-covered rocks and ferns that blanketed the ground. The mist's tendrils unwound from the sapling's delicate branches, drifting lazily across the clearing as the sun climbed higher in the sky. The forest floor began to come alive with the gentle stirrings of small creatures, their footsteps quiet on the damp earth as they went about their morning routines. A faint hum of insects filled the air, their tiny wings beating in unison as they flitted from flower to flower, collecting nectar and pollen for the day ahead. The scent of blooming wildflowers intensified, mingling with the damp, earthy aroma to create a heady perfume that filled the air. As moved slowly through the clearing, the ancient tree's branches creaked softly in the morning breeze, their gnarled limbs stretching toward the sky like nature's own cathedral. The mist's remnants clung to the forest floor, slowly dissipating as the sun's warmth and light began to banish the remaining fog from the clearing. The ancient tree's branches seemed to reach out, embracing the mist's final wisps as they vanished into the morning air. The forest floor, now free from the mist's veil, revealed a hidden path, winding its way up the hillside where wildflowers still bloomed in vibranta colors. My footfalls quiet on the soft earth, began my ascent, the scent of damp soil and decaying wood, giving way to the sweet fragrance of blooming flowers as climbed higher. The hum of insects grew louder, their tiny wings beating in rhythm with my footsteps as walked. The gentle slope of the hillside a soothing accompaniment to my slow and even breathing. The wildflowers' colors deepened as climbed higher, their petals unfolding like delicate fingers reaching for the morning sun. The air grew warmer, filled with the heady scent of blooming heather and the distant thrumming of a hidden stream. My footsteps quiet on the earth, rounded a bend in the path, where the hillside gave way to a small clearing, its center occupied by a weathered stone bench. Moss covered its surface, blending seamlessly into the surrounding foliage, as if the very forest had claimed it as its own. The hum of insects grew louder still, their rhythmic buzzing a gentle accompaniment to my slow and even breathing. The stone bench's moss-covered surface glistened in the morning light, its intricate patterns seemingly woven into the surrounding foliage. A few stray strands of wildflowers had begun to sprout from the cracks, their delicate stems swaying gently in the breeze as sat down beside them. The hum of insects grew softer now, their rhythmic buzzing blending with the soft creaking of nearby branches and the distant thrumming of the hidden stream. My breathing slowed further, its gentle cadence mirroring the quiet movement of the wildflower's petals in the morning light. The stone bench's moss-covered surface felt cool against my skin as settled into its worn curves. The air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming heather, and the distant thrumming of the hidden stream grew louder, its gentle melody weaving in and out of the hum of insects and the soft creaking of branches. As sat, the wildflower's delicate stems began to sway more vigorously, their petals unfolding like tiny trumpets announcing the arrival of the day. The morning light danced across the clearing, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor as it slowly crept up the hillside. A small rivulet of dew, trickled down a nearby sapling's leafy branches, joining the gentle patter of raindrops that had collected in a small depression at its base. The stone bench seemed to absorb my presence, its moss-covered surface blending seamlessly into the surrounding foliage, as if were a part of the forest itself. My breathing slowed further still, its gentle cadence mirroring the quiet movement of the wildflower's petals and the soft dripping of dew onto the forest floor. As sat on the stone bench, my gaze drifted to a nearby cluster of trees, their branches intertwined in a delicate dance. A faint scent of cedar wafted through the air, carried on the gentle morning breeze that rustled the leaves. The sunlight filtering through the canopy above cast dappled shadows on the forest floor, illuminating tiny patches of moss and wildflowers. My breathing slowed further, its rhythm now matching the soft creaking of the tree's branches as they swayed in the morning light. The stone bench's moss-covered surface felt cool against my skin as shifted slightly, the movement sending a faint ripple through the surrounding foliage. As shifted further to one side, the moss-covered surface of the stone bench scraped gently against a nearby patch of leaves, releasing a faint whisper of sound into the still morning air. The scent of cedar grew stronger, carried on the breeze that rustled through the tree's intertwined branches. A small bird, its feathers a soft blend of brown and gray, landed on a nearby branch, its tiny eyes scanning the forest floor for signs of life. The stone bench's worn curves seemed to cradle me as settled into a deeper stillness. My breathing synchronized with the quiet movement of the wildflower's petals and the soft creaking of the tree's branches. The morning light continued its gentle dance across the clearing, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor as it slowly crept up the hillside. As settled further into the stillness, the small bird's gaze drifted from the forest floor to my face, its tiny eyes taking in every detail before flying off into the tall trees. The scent of cedar lingered and shifted my weight slightly, the moss-covered surface of the stone bench softly scraping against the nearby leaves once more. A faint rustle echoed through the clearing as a small, furry creature emerged from the underbrush, its bushy tail twitching gently as it sniffed the air. The tree's branches continued their soft creaking and breathed in deeply, the forest's gentle symphony harmonizing with my own slow rhythms. As settled deeper into stillness, the small creature, its fur a blend of brown and gray, cautiously approached the stone bench. Twitching tail left a faint trail in the moss-covered ground as it padded softly across the clearing. The scent of cedar lingered, subtly infused with the earthy aroma of damp soil and decaying leaves. A gentle hum filled the air as the creature's ears perked up, its gaze fixed on some unseen point beyond the treetops. My breathing slowed further, harmonizing with the rustling of the tree's leaves and the soft creaking of their branches. The morning light crept higher up the hillside, casting a warm glow across the forest floor as it illuminated the intricate patterns of lichen and moss that covered the ancient trunks. As the small creature's ears continued to twitch with an unseen energy, its gaze remained fixed on some distant point beyond the treetops. The morning light, now a warm golden hue, cast a gentle glow across the forest floor, illuminating the delicate patterns of lichen and moss that covered the ancient trunks. The air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming wildflowers as they slowly swayed in the breeze, their petals unfolding like tiny umbrellas to greet the morning sun. What? My breathing slowed further, harmonizing with the soft creaking of the tree's branches and the gentle hum of insects that flitted through the underbrush. The small creature's tail twitched once more before it settled beside me on the stone bench, its fur a soft blend of brown and gray as it gazed out at the unfolding morning landscape. As the creature's gaze remained fixed on some distant point, felt my own awareness expanding to encompass the stillness of the clearing, the warm light of red. The morning sun crept across the forest floor, casting long shadows behind the tree's ancient trunks. A small patch of sunlight illuminated a nearby fern, its delicate fronds unfolding like tiny green wings. The air was filled with the soft rustle of leaves and the gentle hum of insects as they flitted through the underbrush. Shifted my weight slightly, the stone bench's moss-covered surface softly scraping against the surrounding foliage once more. The small creature's tail twitched gently as it settled closer to me, its fur a blend of brown and gray blending seamlessly with the forest floor. As shifted my weight again, the stone bench's moss-covered surface released a tiny shower of emerald green spores into the morning air. The delicate particles danced on the gentle breeze, joining the sweet scent of blooming wildflowers as they wafted upwards towards the treetops. The creature's ears remained perked up, its gaze still fixed on some distant point beyond the forest's canopy. A faint sheen formed on the surface of a nearby pond, its ripples calming as the morning light crept higher across the surrounding rocks. As settled further into the silence, my fingers brushed against the worn wooden armrest of the stone bench, releasing a faint whisper of ancient scent, like the whispers of forgotten stories carried on the morning breeze. The small creature's gaze remained fixed on some distant point, its tail twitching softly in time with the gentle lapping of the pond's water against its shore. A nearby rock formation, weathered to a soft gray, rose from the forest floor like a sentinel, its surface etched with ancient lines that told stories of seasons past. The morning light crept higher, casting long shadows across the clearing, and felt my own awareness expanding to encompass the stillness of this remote mountain sanctuary, where time seemed to bend and flex in harmony with the rhythms of nature. As the morning light continued its gentle climb, shifted my gaze towards a nearby cluster of wildflowers, their delicate petals unfolding like tiny stars scattered across the forest floor. The small creature's ears twitched in response, and it leaned forward slightly, its nose inches from the flowers' soft hues. A faint hum arose from the air as the morning sun awakened a hidden cache of bees within the blossoms, their busy wings stirring the sweet scent of nectar into the stillness. The gentle buzz of the bees blended with the soft lapping of the pond's water against its shore, creating a soothing melody that harmonized with my slow breathing. As inhaled, the morning air filled my lungs with a scent of damp earth and moss-covered stones, while my fingers grazed the weathered wooden armrest once more. The small creature's nose remained inches from the wildflower's delicate petals, its tail twitching softly as it drank in the sweet aroma released by the buzzing bees. Meanwhile, a faint mist began to rise from the forest floor, tendrils of vapor curling around the base of the ancient rock formation like wispy fingers. The morning light continued its ascent, casting long shadows across the clearing that seemed to stretch and yawn, as if awakening from a deep slumber. As shifted my gaze from the wildflowers, my eyes settled on the misty tendrils curling around the ancient rock formation, their wispy fingers stretching towards me like ethereal tentacles. The morning light danced across their moist surface, casting tiny prisms that refracted into a kaleidoscope of colors on the forest floor. The small creature's ears perked up, and it turned its head slowly, as if sensing the subtle vibrations of the mist. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and moss-covered stones, and felt my breathing slow in response, my lungs filling with the cool, damp air. Meanwhile, the hum of the bees grew louder, their busy wings stirring the sweet nectar into the morning air. As the mist continued to rise, tendrils curling around ancient tree trunks and ferns, a soft rustling sound began to emanate from beneath the underbrush. A small furry form emerged, shaking off the dew-kissed leaves that clung to its back as it stretched its tiny limbs. The creature's eyes, like two shining emeralds, flickered open, and it took in the serene surroundings with a quiet curiosity. T.S. nose twitched, sensing the sweet aroma of the wildflowers carried on the morning breeze, and it padded softly towards the cluster, its tail swishing gently behind. As it drew closer, the bees' hum grew louder, their busy wings creating a gentle hum that harmonized with the creature's slow breathing. The creature's paws barely touched the forest floor as it approached the wildflowers, its nose leading the way like a small, furry compass. The scent of sweet nectar and damp earth mingled in the air, drawing me deeper into the clearing with every slow breath took. A faint sheen covered the ancient rock formation now, as if the morning mist had imbued it with a subtle layer of dew. The first rays of sunlight peeked over the treetops, casting an ethereal glow across the forest floor, where tiny droplets of water clung to the moss-covered stones, like diamonds scattered by the morning's gentle touch. As inhaled deeply, the scent of damp earth and wild flowers merged with the cool, crisp air, transporting me to a place where time stood still, and all that remained was the peacefulness of this remote mountain cabin, bathed in the soft golden light of early morning. As exhaled slowly, the gentle mist swirled around my legs, its tendrils curling like delicate fingers, searching for purchase on the rough-hewn wood floorboards. The ancient rock formation loomed in the distance, its surface now glistening with dew-kissed diamonds, reflecting the soft rays of sunlight that crept higher into the clearing. My breathing slowed further, synchronizing with the quiet rustling of leaves and the distant hum of bees as they flitted from wildflower to wildflower, collecting nectar for their morning's bounty. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and moss-covered stones, mingling with the sweet aroma of blooming flowers, drawing me deeper into this serene sanctuary, where time stood still, and all that remained was the peacefulness of this remote mountain cabin, bathed in the soft, golden light of early morning. As exhaled, slowly a faint hum arose from the nearby forest, growing louder as a small stream emerged from the trees, its crystal-clear waters weaving a serpentine path across the clearing. The gentle current carried tiny leaves and twigs along its surface, their soft lapping against the rocks creating a soothing melody that harmonized with my breathing. The ancient rock formation loomed in the distance, its dew-kissed surface glistening like a beacon as the morning sunlight danced across its contours. As stood there, stillness enveloped me, the gentle hum of the stream and the soft lapping of the water against the rocks, blending with my slow breathing to create a symphony of serenity. The morning sunlight danced across the ancient rock formation, casting intricate shadows that seemed to shift and change with each passing moment. Closed my eyes, letting the peacefulness of the scene wash over me, and took another slow breath, feeling the cool air fill my lungs, only to exhale it slowly once more, releasing any tension or stress into the stillness of the forest. The soft rustling of leaves in the nearby trees grew louder, as if they too were awakening to the new day, their gentle susurrations weaving a soothing accompaniment to the music of the stream and my own slow breathing. As stood there, the morning's warmth seeped into my skin, chasing away any lingering chill from the night's tranquility. The ancient rock formation's surface glistened with dew-kissed diamonds, its contours subtly shifting as the sunlight danced across it. A faint mist rose from the forest floor, carrying the sweet scent of blooming heather and wild thyme into the clearing, mingling with the earthy aroma of damp, moss-covered stones. The sound of leaves rustling in the nearby trees grew louder still, their soft susurrations blending with the gentle hum of the stream to create a symphony of serenity that enveloped me like a gentle shroud. The mist continued to rise, its tendrils curling around the ancient rock formation. I slowly turned my attention to the cabin behind me. The wooden slats, weathered to a soft gray, seemed to absorb the morning light, their intricate grain patterns shimmering like the surface of the stream. As moved closer, the scent of damp earth and moss-covered stones gave way to the faint aroma of wood smoke, carried on the gentle breeze that rustled the leaves of the nearby trees. The cabin's door, adorned with a rusty iron handle in the shape of an acorn, creaked softly as it swung open, revealing the warm glow of lanterns lit within. Now, as the story gently fades away, let the words rest, let the sounds remain. Allow the gentle, calming sounds to carry you, slowly and naturally, into deep, peaceful sleep.